Gentlemen, I have right at 7 o'clock. I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. Attendance is taken. If you would rise, we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone have any changes to the agenda before we move on? Comments from citizens? And I think everyone else is here because of the agenda, so let's move on. Public safety. Police Department activity reports. Information's in your packet. Questions or comments?
So it looks like some of those different crimes are down a little bit this month compared to last year. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
What was your impression of how the Anchor Fest?
We were busy.
So it's labor intensive after, shall we say, the Anchor Fest at the square closes. Then it gets rather labor intensive. Did. So far, so good. We have most of those cleaned up. For whatever we're going to probably see.
Anyone have any other under police department? Moving on to the fire department. Activity reports also in your packet. Any questions or comments? We have an update for the purchase of the fire truck.
Just to let you know that after working with Jeff Scott of the Boone County Fire Protection District to go over the draft given to us by one of the Banner Fire, that we cleaned up a couple of little verbiage that was pretty vendor specific, and it is now out on the street. Proposals are due by 2 p.m. on July 1st, and we'll be here for your approval on the 13th, I think, whatever July's 13th. And then we'll have a contract hopefully soon thereafter.
So at least to guarantee that, because we have one of them obviously in.
Yeah. I really think that it was really nice of the Fire Protection District just to do that, because it took some time, and they have nothing to gain from it except for our cooperation. So.
Perfect. Any other fire department?
I did receive the bottles a while ago in SCBs.
Oh.
We purchased from the county. It's awesome. We don't have the service yet, but
We just got them a few minutes ago.
just a few months ago.
Yeah.
I'll get work on it.
Said you went to Centralia for derailment training. How was that?
I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I went with them, and
yeah.
every time I see a train go by, I'm down, I'm looking to see whether how the
Pressurized
tanker.
tank?
Yeah.
Pretty good, pretty interesting.
Did they derail one for you?
No.
Very
It's
close to
interesting, you know, when you go to that training, you'll start paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, you start doing that thumb thing, you know, if you can see it, you know, you're still too close, you know, stuff like that. And nothing against the police department, but if something happened, you all more welcome to go first.
I'm gonna keep that in mind next time. Give the fire department the old one too.
I'm not really saying. I don't think we're saying that's official city policy.
I'm thinking that is on moving on.
I think you're exactly right, Mr. Wilkins.
It was good training. One of the things that we learned is that when there's a derailment, there should be on board every train a list of everything that's on that train, if you can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they show how, where the train cars are, but they're not in that position usually when they derail, so.
Emergency management.
I leave it on the agenda, just, I don't know,
Sure.
tradition. But I didn't have anything this month.
Protective inspection.
I think I've reported to you guys that Darren Adams has submitted, well, I don't know if, he submitted plans for a sanitary sewer to the 8 legal lots on the gravel portion of Ivy Lane. These are platted lots. They're in existence. And we went over it with Mike Forsey, and there's nothing wrong with the sewer, so we approved it. We're going to DNR. Each one of those lots has a portion of the property is in FEMA on the firm map. I think it's redundant because M stands for map. On the firm map, they show a portion of it in flood zone A or AE. What used to be the 100-year flood plain.
Yeah.
So what, on that same letter to DNR saying that we were okay with the sanitary sewer, we noted that they will have to follow the City of Centralia's Code 12, or Section 12, or Chapter 12, especially Section 12.5, Chapter 12-5, that requires that they get a floodplain floodplain development permit and submit an application for that permit. I'm going to just use, I was looking online, Boone County has one. It asks for all of the things we asked them to have in their permit application are requested on that form. So my plan is to just simply use that form. And note a couple. We require them to be 1 foot above the flood level. Hopefully I'm using the right term. So we're going to need them to submit elevations. So there's some work out there for surveyors if they haven't already done it. Darren's aware of this. We've talked about it. He knows that he has to give a certificate, elevation certificate with each one of them. But
You're mimicking the verbiage in it.
yeah, and there's enough room based on the map, and the best maps are the ones that the Boone County Resource Management. If you look on the federal firm or firmette, it's so fuzzy you can't distinguish it. I went down to the Regional Planning Commission. We looked at it for a long time, but these are 150-foot lots, and there's maybe 30, 40 feet in the back that's in the floodway. Basically, their backyard's in the flood. So the tricky part will be to remember for the foreseeable future when they want to put a shed back there.
Yeah. I will say a good thing about E-Code 360, it's very quick. I just put in 12-5 and it just went right there, so it's very sweet.
Yeah, it's nice. And that's still 2 years old. We are working on getting that done.
Yeah.
But it is, anyway, I don't want to distract from that, from the floodplain management part. But so we're aware of it. We're aware of it. The developer's aware of it. That's about all. That's about it.
All right. You were expecting an update sometime in July for the building, some of the grant information.
Yeah, I have nothing new yet. But no, yeah, next month, yes. On the demolition, the CDBG, I'll have some report, some progress report at that point.
Just want to make sure it doesn't fall off.
No, we got a bunch of buildings out there that need attention.
Moving on to general government and finance. Economic development, Craig report.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I did one
Sorry.
really quickly.
It's like,
Planning and zoning will meet this Thursday to look at a proposed possibility of amending the height restrictions in M1, having to do with the MFA.
Yes, sorry. Okay, yes, sorry. And without further ado,
Going to give you a quick update on our Credit Board, or our meetings. We have elected new officers. Damon Reynolds is our new president. Damon is a Boone County Sheriff and also works with Adams Realty. So he has a young family in town and is really embraced living in Centralia. Emily Curtis is vice president, and of course I'm the treasurer. If you work in a bank, that's what you get to be. So Dawn is our representative on our board from the chamber. Angela Bellamy was appointed by you guys, and she made her first meeting. We're really pleased to have her. And Matt Smith, which is the new high school principal, asked to be put back on the board for this school. So he has really brought a new dimension to our board in relations with the school. So it's great to have him. We fielded a couple of contacts from Ready in the last month of businesses looking for vendors that we happen to have in our community. So that was really great to be able to call those folks and say, hey, here's a contact if you want to pursue this. So we've worked really hard at building that relationship. I think Lynn started a great job with Ready in building that, and you guys have made that possible for us to build that bridge. We've been talking about maps to hand out to our out-of-town guests, and they're getting ready to go to the printer. They're going to be printed on a pad that you'll just tear off. The front side will be a map, and the back side, I don't have it with me, will tell what businesses are. Now, these aren't paid advertising. Ready's doing this on their own. And so we put in businesses that if you were a guest in town, you would want to know. So you may not find every business on here, but you will find restaurants in our parks and schools, tourist attractions, downtown things to do. So our schools, City Hall have one, all real estates, all the shops downtown, all the restaurants. So when people come in, we'll have that. And why we started this is because the amount of people that the parks and the schools bring in for tournaments, fifth grade tournaments, they'll have, people will come from, 500 guests to Centralia from Fayette and Ashland, and a lot of them don't know where to go. So that is our really big push to get this out. So that's coming soon, and we'll make sure those get out. And also I wanted to talk to you tonight and invite you to the new event we're having. And if you don't mind passing it around, I may be one short, so I know you won't be able to come that night. But we're hosting a conversation about the future of Centralia. And Dave knows on our board, and Don too, we've been talking about the things we need in town: a hotel, more daycare, available housing, those kind of things. And so we decided we had to start somewhere. So we're starting a conversation that night. We invite all of you to come. We're going to talk a little bit about the amount of people we have come to town. We'll have some numbers from Hubble about their guests. We'll talk about lack of daycare. We're going to ask for ideas. We're going to look at available commercial property. So all we're doing is having a conversation, and we're inviting key people in the community and opening the doors to anybody that wants to come, because we want, hotels on the top of the list. And we've made some good inroads with connections to another small town who brought in a hotel. So we already have a good groundwork for that. So I hope you guys will come. It's very low key. It's going to be at the Country Club, 4:30. We'll start conversation at 5-ish, and we'll see how long it goes. So we hope you'll come and be a part of it. Anybody have any questions?
Interesting about the daycare conversation. There are some people at MMA who are either their wives are expecting or they are expecting, and they're in this area, and they've come to be lamenting.
Newborn to age 5, there's just no daycare in town. And it's become a problem, it really has. And if we're going to attract new families, both members usually work now, we've got to address that. So that'll be another thing. We actually have a little list, and a lot of it was your feedback and people that were at other events that we have hosted, as well as Hubble and from the chamber as well. Hotel, daycare, and available housing that are on the top of those lists.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very good report.
Park board.
Yeah.
Go get 'em.
I will pass these out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roy.
Um,
Really, I've kind of broken this down into two parts. One would be what we want to do with the rec center and what our goals for that are, and then what this is leading to overall. So we've met pretty much, I guess, for like the last 6 to 7 months on refinancing the rec center. We've met with bankers, we've met with financial consultant, and the general consensus is that we could lower our interest rate significantly over what we're paying right now. I think we're 4% this year. Next year it goes to 4.25%, and then basically every 4 years it goes up 1/4 point. I think it comes to maturity at March of 2028. We'll get 5.5%, and that's our last payment. Right now we make 2 payments a year, a payment in August, which I think is principally an interest payment, and then a payment in March that is that has quite a bit more principal. So there's 2 lump sum payments, and those payments are made currently out of the park sales tax. What we're wanting to do is to obviously obtain a lower interest rate. I will talk about the pool project because this is one of the big things that is driving it. But we would lengthen the term of payoff 5 years probably, depending upon what types of rates we would get. Lower the payments on the rec center. I say separately finance the pool. I know Matt has a different recommendation, which is fine, and we can sort all that stuff out. But essentially, we would like to be able to make our rec center payments and finance the project at the pool, which I'll get into briefly, and then not increase essentially what we're paying, our payments. You know, so how much can we do at the pool? It all depends on the rate and what the payments would be. You know, so essentially we're not looking to increase what we're paying out. We're looking to try to keep those pretty much the same. And they do change slightly as the years go by. Okay. At the pool, the things we want to do is improve accessibility. And I provided, if you would look at this big thing, it gives a diagram of the pool. We have major accessibility problems at the pool right now. To meet our grievance that was filed for restrooms for handicap, we have to have a porta potty down there at the southeast corner. The restrooms are inaccessible by wheelchair. The dressing rooms are, and they have to come in the side gate. Okay. Now we can't get into the pool because we did replace the lift last year, but we want to improve our accessibility, add designated ADA parking, change the parking south of the building to add spaces. And if you look there where the current building is, we would be adding spaces there, build new dressing rooms and concession area that meet ADA requirements. There's not enough room in the building we have now to do that because of the turns they have to make, and once you tie into those bathrooms, the showers have to be fixed. And there's just not enough room. They're just not big enough. Now, and you would be surprised if I would have brought a copy of what the dressing rooms that they would be building look like. They're fairly Spartan, really. They're not anything huge. They're just designed differently than what we have now. And then either installing zero entry or steps to the pool. And that is important because we have a number of people that aren't really ambulatory, you know, where they have to use a lift. But the 90-degree ladders to get out of the pool are too difficult for older people and for heavier people. I've got it, hey, I want to come down and do water aerobics. My doctor prescribed it, but it's probably too big for the lift, or maybe too proud in some cases, but you could get in and out with steps or zero entry. We want to extend the life of the pool. Pool, this is, I think it's 47th year of operation. To do that, we redid the gutter covers this year. You know, they did have the concrete. We were down to the aggregate inside the gutters. So we would be looking at applying an epoxy there, which would cover all that, and not like you paint on your garage floor, but fairly thick trowel and stuff. Caulk and seal the decks, caulk and paint the pool, which is something we have to do regular anyway, and rehabilitate the filtration room, which the pool experts that we've had in say it's pretty sound. They were down, I think 2 weeks ago, and looked at it, said it's pretty good shape, but there are some things that we need to improve in there. We want to improve the function, so we turn the current building into storage. Basically, we store all our concession stuff and then create new entry into the parking lot so we have one-way flow. So if you've been down there like yesterday, you couldn't get through the parking lot. There's not enough parking for the way it is now. And when you get to a swim meet, it's almost impossible. But just for regular, everyday stuff, if we have a day like yesterday, there's not enough parking, and you can't get through there. Improve accommodations. I included a picture of a spray ground because some people might go, well, what's a spray ground? Well, you probably all seen one, you just didn't know what it was called. And that's just kind of a goofy example that I was able to get off the internet. And then on the spray ground would act as a function of the pool during pool operation months. But we could keep the spray ground open when we close the pool until the middle part of October and then open it up in April. You're not required to keep somebody there because there's not a pool needed, it's just a spray ground. And we would like to add a shelter there because we need restrooms up in that end of the park, particularly when we have functions like 4th of July and the swim meets. But we also need restrooms up there. We're going to have a spray ground. So we would put a smaller shelter up there that had restrooms on one end. And then we would cover part of the outside concession area because not everybody that comes down there wants to sit out in the sun and watch their 16-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever. You know, they don't want to bake. That's what I'm telling you. So if you look at the pool project, I put all that stuff on there, but I talked about the parking. That would have to be done. If we move, we can't tear down the current building because the filtration room's in there. Somebody, you can say, well, why don't you just tear down the current building? We can't because of filtration room. But we would move the concessions in the dressing room to the other end of the pool. And it's a fairly flat area. And then the spray ground would go outside of that. The ADA parking would be up there on that plateau. So there would be spaces there, there'd be a drop-off area, and you can see that basically the parking lot, we would take out that little short row by the pool, which would give more space to pull in and pull out, and then basically become one-way traffic. And then the shelter would be out here. Now, how much of that, what are the things that we really need to do? Well, there's, really need to and really like to. Well, we need to do the things that extend the life of the pool. We need to do the ADA stuff, and nobody thinks about, I'll give you my spiel. Nobody thinks about handicap accessibility until it's either you or your kid or your mom in the wheelchair. And an outhouse is really probably not the best way to give those people accessibility. So, and we talked about the zero entry down here, and then the shelter up here. So hopefully all that stuff makes sense. How much that we can do, I have no idea. So most of it will depend upon how the bids come back to finance it.
Still gonna use the same doors in the old building to get in the pool?
What you'll have to do, this is the one thing that's probably the biggest downside of this deal. You'll come in, the dressing room will be down here at the deep end. So where the fence is, the outer fence, that will come out and there'll be a 3-foot fence. And people will have to go down to that end to get in because by code, you have to enter at the shallow end of the pool. And we've talked about this, at some point in time, we know we'll have to build a new pool. But nothing we're doing here is wasted because this can be the first phase of, if you want to look at that, of the new pool. The only thing that we would change if this is the first phase of the new pool, is the new pool will be flipped around. This would be the shallow end. And the pools they build now have different accommodations. They have lazy rivers, they all have zero entries, they all have spray, you know, almost all of them have spray grounds. Very few people put wading pools in anymore, you know, because of the liability on them. And in fact, if we put the zero entry in up here, it's likely the wading pool will come out. Now, the upside of that is that's probably one less person that I have to put out on the deck, because you don't have to have somebody supervise it. But there'll be then the fence will be moved out. So, and there'll be lots of things that may change, but we've talked to enough people that we think that that's probably our best plan without having to do anything else. And we have looked at the current building, and there's just not enough room with what we have to do that. So Mike can answer. I mean, we've written an RFP, which basically requests for proposal to banks. I know Matt would like us to use a financial advisor. You know, ultimately that's up to you guys. We know that. But basically what we're looking for is approval to go on. Now, you guys still have to approve when we go through all this, okay? Or we're gonna let them do the project. Okay? We're pretty certain we can get better interest rates than we're getting now. So,
Pretty confident about that, too.
are there any questions, generally speaking, about this? James, I'll give you one of these because they're gonna ask me for one anyway, so. Make our conversation a little more.
Sir,
Yes.
how many banks have you approached for RFPs?
We haven't done any because we have to advertise it. But, you know, we have had banks come in, and in fact, it's not gonna be a problem getting people who wanna loan us money. And we'll get probably a better rate than what you're gonna get on a house or something.
Right.
The thing is how long they'll lock the rate in for.
Thank you, sir.
But we will, it has to be advertised, and certainly we would, you know, encourage every bank in town. I know that there's a bank or two in Columbia that are really interested, and like I said, I don't think we'll have a hard time getting people to respond to the RFP.
Sure, for municipal.
Right.
And the top, you know, it would probably be another lease purchase, because if we bond, we have to get, the city has to get a bond rating and all that stuff that you guys know about, so. So basically what we're looking for is you guys say, okay, it's okay to keep going, and Matt can talk about his portion of it, and
I did.
Well, do you have anything you wanted to add, Mike?
I did want to ask the question. I know that it used to be if the school did a lease, get a note, it had to be a lease purchase, but they changed that law about 3 years ago that they can actually do an actual loan. It doesn't have to be a bond, it could just be a loan. So my question would be, have you heard about that with cities or not? I thought it was still a lease purchase.
I think it's still lease purchase.
That's what I was.
Talking to the variety of people.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Earl said something about that. I'm not aware of something where cities
Okay,
can do.
I couldn't find anything on that either, so I just figured that was the case.
And as a fourth class city, we have less ability to do innovative things in a charter city, or possibly in some places in the school district.
Right, okay.
But I just wanted to say that, first of all, I think that the idea of going out for an interest rate improvement is pretty simple, and pretty simple yes. The bonds that are currently, or the current certificate comes due in March. There are ways that you can go ahead and refinance now. If you refinance before December, it is the loan. It would be the only time that you'd be able to do an advanced refunding of the payment. Those are just SEC rules. Those are SEC rules. I believe that's what it is. Anyway, you're not allowed to go out for a second refinancing, so we'd be spending our one bullet on this one. But I don't think that that's I don't think by itself that's a reason not to do it. as soon as possible. I think that would not kill the project going out sooner. Anyway, I'm stumbling over my own. I'm trying to say three things at once. I would like, there's about 1.55 million left on the existing. The projects you guys are talking about are, all this together is in the ballpark of, this is a little bit under $1 million, right? Somewhere around 900,000.
That was just a real rough ballpark, but yes.
Right.
Yeah, very rough.
So because there's so many unknowns in terms of the price, although you've got a pretty specific project, that would be a reason to pursue refinancing just the rec center and then seeing how much you have left over. However, if you had a budget and you refinanced all together, you're probably going to improve your overall interest rate package. Going out for just a straight refinancing with even a lease purchase, it's hard to get the banks to give you a set rate for 20 years. They usually will go out much more than 3 to 5 years at the most, and then there will be what we have now with UMB is increasing interest rates because it's a matter of how much risk you're willing to take. It is enough to do a bond if we wanted to go that route, but there are additional costs to doing bonds. It is not absolutely necessary to get rated. You can sell unrated bonds. For this size project with the city's track record, it probably wouldn't be worth going out and getting rated. The process of getting Moody's or one of those companies to rate us by itself would be thousands of dollars. But we would also be able to get an interest rate for the whole project. And there's a lot of financial questions to be answered, and that's why I was recommending that we get a expert in municipal finance, financial advisor. This is not a bond. He's not a bond agent. He could recommend. This is somebody who could recommend going out for lease purchase, going out for bonds, pursuing delaying the process until they have a set of at least quotes to give us a firm budget for the pool projects. So that's a reason. The guy who worked on the first refinancing, Todd Goffley of Piper Joffrey, sent a draft letter of engagement. It's about 0.9% of the project. So on a $1.5 million refinancing, you're talking about a cost for the financial advisor in around range of $13,000. Wouldn't necessarily get all of that back. The reason it just improves the transparency of the process. You've got somebody who works solely for the city, making recommendations, as opposed to getting advice from from some of the people who will be competing for the loan. So, not that I don't think that Mike Watson, the people at Central Bank of Boone County, and the Home Bank and the other guys aren't going to do the best they can for Centralia. But when the deal is done, the people who want to complain are going to say what they're going to say about our process. If we have somebody, our own advisor, we have a just another level of separation between the bidders and the people who put the bids in.
If we did a bond, wouldn't that require a vote? Or not?
I think so. I forgot.
Yeah, I think
I believe so. It depends on what kind of bond, but for this, yes. Especially if you're going to do revenue bonds, which is the way you want to set. You wouldn't want to do general obligations. Yeah. Revenue bond would require a vote. So, but if we proceed, I think we should proceed one way or another with looking at getting a better interest rate. Whether it's through the hiring of a financial advisor to help the city, or if it is just simply give the Parks and Rec department the go-ahead to seek RFPs for refinancing. I just tend to be I don't know, I think my style and Earl's is just a little bit different. He wants to go get the thing done. I'd like to, I'm more of a planner, I guess. And I'm not saying my approach is better. I'm just the one that I would bring.
Just giving us some options.
The one thing that right now, without a budget, without a more defined budget, I don't think you'd want to go out to refinance this project. Although I do want to say, not only is it something I think is valuable, I think that one of the things I like about Coach Bennett's proposal was, yeah, we're doing things to make the accessibility of the pool better. Yes, we have had complaints, but as he pointed out, that's not the reason to build things ADA accessible. It's for the spirit of the law to make it available to a larger portion of the community. So I really appreciate the approach the park board is taking.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So the other side of that is, if we're gonna refinance the whole project, we're looking more like 2.4 million, so the cost for the advisor is gonna be up over 22,000. So that's gonna push it higher. If we go ahead and refinance just the rec center, from the business side of that, we then have a hard number of what we can spend. We then are able to get the interest rate down now while it's low. We can capture that, and we'll start saving money every month that we have to refinance before we build. So we then have, if the projections came out right, $925,000 to build. So then when we set our phases in, we set in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. One is we have to do a parking lot. We have to do the entrance with the handicap accessible. And let's say that's going to cost us $500,000. Well, now let's do the zero entry, whether we do it as a slope or whether we do it as steps. That's going to be another $250,000. This is what we've got to spend on spray ground. This is what we have to spend on shelter. So we hopefully have designed it so that once we have the refinance with the rec center done and in concrete, we know our business model works. So we can afford the 2 payments every year that we make. So as long as we build the pool and add on to the pool and make our payment no more than what we currently pay, our business model will still work. If we wait and try to do the all one lump sum, I just see us pushing it all way back, and I'm afraid the project's going to stall out. Every month that we're refinanced, we're saving money. And all that money is going to go toward the future project.
So what you're looking for right now is to go forward with refinancing of the rec center?
Yeah, that would
What
be.
you're looking for is to go into an RFP right now.
I would like to be able to, take an RFP, send it out to the banks, and what you have, I think you all have a sample of that, may not be quality enough or lengthy enough or have enough verbiage in it for people. I'm more short and simple. So we may have to modify that, but get the approval to refinance the rec center. And what I didn't want to do is go out and get quotes from everybody, and then when you guys get it, you say, not comfortable with the whole thing, and stop. So we're trying to find out, are you comfortable with going out to refinance the rec center, then look at how much money we've saved and being able to do another lease purchase on the pool was the goal. If you decide we need a financial advisor to do that, so be it. But I really think doing them as 2 separate projects, start saving money now if we can. Then we'll know exactly what we can spend, and with the way we've got the pool set up to build it, we'll build what we can afford. And what we can't
We know
afford,
we may or may not be able to do all those items.
may not all come.
Yeah.
We may have to leave some of it out.
And we know some, like I kind of told you the priority, and that was the goals, as I kind of laid them out in the goals. So.
Mike,
I would like to say thank you for the work that you put into this. I know it's been you know, a monumentous task. And I appreciate the foresight of looking at future development, future expansion of the pool. I know as our city grows, the patronage that supports the pool is going to grow. I think this is the right step. So thank you.
So the current one runs out in 2028, you said?
Right, so we'd be basically extending the life of our note back to 20 years from now. So we still have a 20-year note on this project, on the rec center. So that's where we're gaining some of our revenue to build the pool, is because we're lower interest rate and lengthening our time.
So, Mike, the payment on the rec center, if you extend the length of the loan and drop the interest rate, is going to be cut substantially.
Oh yeah.
So is your plan then to do these projects and the rest of the projects of the pool as a pay-as-you-go, or are you looking
No.
at financing that? Because if you
No, we're-
can't, it's going to be more difficult to finance them. When you want to do most of that up front and then pay it off.
We're gonna want to, that, so let's say our payment is half, okay? I don't know. Let's say that, I had the numbers at one time, but let's say our payment is, we're spending right now $160,000 a year on the two payments. So let's say that payment's now $100,000, okay? So we're saved us $60,000 a year. So for whatever $60,000 a year for 20 years at what interest rate will tell us how much we have to build. Because I don't want to spend any more payment a year, because what we're doing works. So the revenue we have coming in through the rec center, because the pool's not going to ever pay for itself. The pool's going to lose money every year. So the revenue we have coming in from the rec center now pays for the note and gives us money for upkeep and expansion and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm wanting to nail down that. Then we can actually go to construction people and say, okay, we want to build this. Give us a bid, give us a quote on all of this, but in stages.
Yeah, but in stages, but it's being built at the same time, okay? Here's the top priority, the parking and the dressing facility. And then, okay, if you do that, what will it cost to come in and do zero entry or steps? You know, and the pool companies can probably get you that, but what we probably, in essence, we would say, this is what we have to spend. We would know what we have to spend, and we would know out of that, okay, we can do this, this, and this, but we can't do this. The spray ground, you can spend anywhere from $75,000 to $750,000 on the spray ground. That's whatever, however big you want to make it.
Right.
You know, so obviously that and the shelter would be lower priorities than the accessibility and simply, you know, extending the life of the pool with some of the things we have to do. And some of that may be able to be done out of a regular budget as well.
So then if we figure out we can do this much and not increase our payment, we would do another lease purchase for that project for the pool.
Whatever we decide to do at the pool. Well, let's say we,
Right.
so we know we have
Two separate
$800,000 and they give us $1.2 million.
Does that make
and-
sense?
But whatever savings you make
yeah.
off of the,
Right.
the rec
we're going to
center,
the pool.
bond or lease purchase, then that would be what we would apply to the pool, but it would be done as a lease purchase also, but it's
Separately.
savings would be.
Total separate, yeah, total separate lease purchase.
So it's not going to increase the payments that we're currently making right now.
Right.
That's all, I think that's the
Yeah.
whole point, is that
Yeah.
that we're making an assumption, which I think is a pretty safe assumption, that we can maintain this level of funding for the foreseeable future, that the sales tax will not go down. And as long as the sales tax does not go down for 20 years, and so far it's been going up, in the last couple of years it's been going up. Now, you know, 2007 through 2010 was not, but we've got a pretty safe bet for right now, that we can maintain that level of sales tax and have that level in there. If it goes up, there's more room. But the one part that I'm having trouble, maybe I'm not just listening well enough, is I get that you're going to know what a budget is once you get your refinancing note and you know exactly how much you owe. So having that and extending your payments an extra 7 years. So now you're gonna have a amount of money above that, whatever, 100,000, 80,000, whatever it is, you're gonna have this much money which you can use for financing up to, and assuming you wanna go for 20 years also, or. But once you get that number, you're gonna come up with one set of projects. Go out for lease purchase on the set of projects.
Correct.
And then build them as soon as you can feasibly build them. Okay.
And this winter would be really nice.
Basically, it'd be 3 different bids. One person would bid it in 3 different ways.
Right, we're gonna have stopgap basically, you know, and when they come back, we're gonna say, okay, and then there's a point where we could say, you're doing the parking lot, and you're doing the shelters,
There's
and you guys are
almost
doing the
nobody that
pool.
can do all of this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
so,
different type of skills.
right, so we have, that gives us the opportunity to do as much as we want. Then, let's say, we build a spray ground, but we build a $75,000 spray ground. In 5 years, we've saved enough money that we build it so that now we can add a new feature or a new event in the spray ground system, we do that.
Well, and when we do the project, the one thing that we talked about at the pool is that we would begin with the end in mind. What would a new pool look like? So that nothing we do now would hinder, let's say in 15 years, that we're at the point where, okay, or 20 years, whatever, hey, we're ready to build a new pool. We haven't done anything right now that hinders that. And I realize that you can't control all government regulations on ADA and stuff like that, but, you know, there are certain features that you know that they're putting in pools now, and if we could stay within that, you know, kind of keep this is where we're going long term.
I mean, we want to get a drawing of a pool with a dive pit and a rig and a lazy river, and we want to get a whole drawing. And then obviously that part of it's not, we're not even thinking about that, but it doesn't constrict us from 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road to building.
Yeah, because we don't want somebody coming back saying, well, you're sticking all this money in a 47-year-old pool.
Have you talked about an architect at this point yet?
Yeah, one of the contractors that is going to be looking at the project has their own architect on staff. I mean, so they draw and design those. It's a place outside Louis. There are some other people that do pool things, but from what we've got from them, they're not interested in the whole project. They're just not big enough to handle the whole project. We have also talked to a couple other local contractors that are interested in doing parts of the project. Because it's a pool and water, and that they don't want to touch that part of it. So there's a good chance we'll have more than one person on the job.
And these are very, it's not like you're building a whole pool, you're building a very specific, specialized thing that you almost, some of that stuff you almost have to have a pool.
Yeah.
Well, I know that pools are not done by most architects.
Right. Right. No, there's a guy that's
Yeah, they have.
that's what he
their own
does.
architects.
That's all he does.
So right now, the one decision, I guess, the committee needs to make, or at least is whether or not we want to, two I can think of. One, if we are comfortable with them moving ahead with refinancing as a standalone project, and then if you feel that there's a need for any professional, if they need professional help.
Exactly. And when we do this, obviously the RFP, when that all gets done, it has to come back to you guys to sign it anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the first subject in the group?
I think it makes sense to save money where you can. Still kind of digest it now. I feel like we're reverse engineering the pool thing. And maybe this is a simplistic view, but if we, somehow you want to keep your cards close to your hand when you figured out how much money you had to spend, or I'm thinking the cost of the project's going to show up just right close to what you had to spend.
Well,
Tracking with me there?
I know, I understand what you're
Yes
saying.
and no. You gotta realize there, when you, yeah, when you're dealing with an architect, there's basically, there's three features that they deal with. It's quality, timing, and cost. And you can specify any two of those. If you want cheap costs, your timing and your stuff is going to, is kind of determined by what cost you want. Because they're gonna do it when they've got time, if it could be done cheaply. So it's gonna take longer. If you want good quality, then, and cheap cost, you know, then but those are the things that they control, and, so you, basically, they're working with a budget. So if you give them a budget, the architect's budget, that's his job to come in with within that
Well,
budget.
it's also in our best interest that when a lot of these things would be subcontracted out, that, you know, we get them to be as frugal on, you know, the fence and the park here, you know, we get a quality project for the best, get the most bang for our buck. I mean, this is what we need.
Yeah.
And then that allows us to do more. So it's not like we are losing complete control of it when we,
Yeah, because they do bid out for different parts of it.
And if we do refinance, if we would do the refinance and refinance 2.4 right up front to cover the cost of that, then we're locked into spending that much money. If we refinance just the facility, the rec center, and then do the pool, and at some point we say, we're not getting that much more up to the 925, we're only gonna spend 800,000.
Yeah.
Because we're refinancing just that part. So we can cut it off where we want, as opposed to, well, they've already borrowed the 925,000, so we might as well spend it all.
Right.
When do you think you'll have I can see you bidding the park or the pool project with every government bid process has a budget. So just knowing what the total amount you have available shouldn't
Influence.
is the same as you're gonna have anytime. So it's not gonna, they're gonna try and fill up the available space, but one of the other things you can do is bid options. You know, that we're gonna do this, if we have enough money, we'll add the zero, you know, you pick out your priorities, and the last one might be the spray ground. Or you can do spray ground, the beans and rice spray ground, the chicken and mashed potato spray ground, and the lobster and filet mignon spray ground, and see which one you can afford at the end of the day.
Right.
But about when do you think you'll have that process ready to go for RFQ?
If we can get the approval for the RFP, the bankers tell me they need 30 days, okay, to propose it. Then our lawyer needs probably another 15 to 30 days, so a couple months, okay, to get, that's what I've been understood. That's to find out how much money we've got.
Well,
once we get that,
direction.
within 60 days. To get drawings back and bids and everything, to have a good first proposal. The people we've talked to thought with the time frame that they're on, there's no reason it can't be built this winter and be ready to go May.
So if you can get a project together in 60 days, you're worried about putting the full, see, if you were telling me it would take you 5-6 months to get here,
Right,
it would make total sense to do it in 2 separate pieces.
right.
If you can get what you want here in a budget in 60 days, then you're not really,
Well, at least we can find out what we're gonna be at when we borrow the money. Or how much
I think you
money.
get a pretty good idea of where you're gonna be at when you, I mean, the interest rates are, I mean, I think you can, I think that you're, I think that the getting to know exactly how much money you'll have for the pool project
Could delay the project.
is good, yeah, if you gotta wait to do that before you do this, you might as well do it all at once.
Ideally, we would be starting on the pool in the fall.
Right.
You know, because chances are you're gonna have better weather and they have a longer winter.
September, October.
I think you got a better chance of getting on that project quicker if you do it all at once. That's
Okay.
because you
Yeah,
can
but
start right now getting this together.
Yeah, but I see what Mike was saying also, is if you do it all at once, then the contractors and the public, everybody that's gonna be bidding on it, already knows what the, you know, what we have to spend on the project, so that may influence their, you know, their bids.
That's typically not the way it works.
Yeah. I mean.
Well, when a school passes a bond issue, for instance, they pass a bond issue for $3.2 million and
Everybody knows.
everybody knows.
Yeah.
They're usually over anyway, so.
Game over.
But, I mean, the proposal that you've got in here is pretty open. I mean, they're gonna put together something, and you reserve the right to reject any and all proposals.
Mhm.
I really don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, either way, it's, yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see you proceed, and this is the refinancing for the first part of it, and that's I think the initial step you need to take.
Mhm.
And in answer to what you were asking about how quickly, 60 days is a time frame that I push for in time that I think, but I also know how that goes.
We could also.
My concern is, they tell me, yeah, we can have this all wrapped up in 60 days and we can put it out for bids. But my concern is, it becomes 90 days, it becomes 120 days, it becomes November, and then they say, oh, we're not gonna be able to get in the time frame because, well, things just didn't come through like we thought. Now all of a sudden, we've not refinanced for 6 months.
Mhm.
So if their promise is good, and it's 100%, they get it all to me in 60 days, and we get all the ballots, and we get the bids done, but things don't always go that way.
Well, all you need to go out for money is the plan. You don't have to have the bids in hand.
Right, but then we've already spent the money. Then I've got a 20-year note, isn't that right? That once we get confirmation that we're gonna borrow 2.4 million, and then we decide, no, we can't do this last project, and that's a big enough chunk that it cuts it down to 2.2 million. We've already borrowed the money.
See, to me, this discussion right here is why I think we would want to hire professional financial advice. Because I feel like we're all have a modicum of expertise in this, but not where we want to be to take on a big project like this. It's just my gut feeling.
That's why I made the recommendation. It's good. There is a cost associated with it, but what we're talking about here, Mike's right, and we need to do this in 2 parts. Then you know, we will. I would feel better getting that information from somebody. Not that I don't trust you.
No, I understand, that's fine.
Yeah, or
Because I don't do this every day for me.
I don't either, and I haven't done it. Maybe if Lynn, who'd done 10 of these things, was here, he'd be better off with his advice. But I haven't. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend to know things I don't know.
That's personally a little bit of my uneasiness, just familiarity.
Well, my unfamiliarity is also there, and I understand the need for it. By the same token, what this is just a proposal to refinance that. That's fairly straightforward. The other portion of it is a little bit different, but I think this needs to come first.
I agree.
And I'm not sure that getting one of these bond guys or whatever financial consultants is gonna change this RFP enough. It might be more important to get them to look at the results, because you may get some results back that they're not the same, so you aren't comparing necessarily apples and oranges. I'd rather have him look at that than to write it so specific that they can't put something in there that would save us more money.
Well, certainly, yeah, the RFP does have a very specific, we can reject.
Yeah.
And so,
So I'm not saying we shouldn't necessarily hire a consultant, but I think this could go out and we could have a consultant evaluate what comes back in and give us the best deal on something like that.
if we still feel on
I think if you're gonna bring in a consultant, then bring him in from the word go. I mean, I don't want to spend the money on a consultant, but if there's gonna be somebody coming in looking over your shoulder, you might as well let him be up front leading you instead of looking in the back door.
Well, but, I mean, you're pretty open here, so if the problem isn't with what you've written as far as I see it. The problem is, you're not necessarily comparing apples and oranges when you get those bids back from the banks. Depending on how they set it up, they can set it up in a number of different ways. They may not all set it up the same way, some ways may have advantages one way, some may have advantages the other way. That's something the financial consultant could tell us. He can tell us which one is really the best deal.
Matt, do you foresee, what sort of timeline would it be to employ a consultant?
We could have a contract with the next meeting on June 29th. That'd be no problem at all. In fact, I mean, Todd is working, is the bond agent, or not the bond agent. He's the placement agent on the current, he's already on the project, basically. So, you know, we could, you know, ask him to, and he sent a letter of engagement. I probably, Mayor would rather we do that at the June 29th meeting. But, I mean, or you could authorize me to sign the contract and won't be more than 6 months, and then at this meeting, his price is 0.9%. So I don't know if you guys could accept that as a bid tonight, but he's already, like I said, he's already working on this project.
He's already familiar with it.
If you're gonna sign him on to look at the end result, he's not getting paid any more or less to do that.
To
You
look
might as
at
well let
the
him do the
bid.
whole thing.
And assist with the drafting the RFP so that it's gonna get us apples to apples as much as possible, or explain when you're talking about apples and when you're talking about nectarines and when you're talking about oranges.
my only point was that if what we get back for the proposals, if we feel confident and if we feel qualified, if this group feels qualified, that we can sit down with everything that comes back from all of the different banks, that we feel qualified in being able to say, yes, this one is the best one we got back. Do we feel qualified to be able to do that and spend and make those kinds of decisions? That was my, that's my biggest.
I mean, obviously, if it's just a number, if it's, you know, Bank A is at 3.2% and Bank C is at 4.5%, then you go with banks.
No brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna, my impression is it's not gonna be that.
Therein my quandary lies.
Yeah, but wouldn't he give us a better price for just reviewing the proposals as opposed to being involved in the whole thing?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know the answer.
Can we be approached with that question?
Sure. I can call him tomorrow.
You know, it just might be, just listening to this, that the consultant you're looking for lives at 705 East Airmont Drive. And he lives here in town.
Exactly.
My friend he's familiar with all this. It might be, because he's certainly someone that,
Has the knowledge of,
yeah, I'm not trying to downplay
yeah.
what Mr. Harline does, but it would seem to me that he doesn't have much to do other than mow his lawn. That's a thought, that he's not a financial guru, I know that. Seems to me he's paying his bills without much problem. Certainly someone that could look at this without any man's collar around his neck. Just about it.
I would certainly like to hold the decision just for a bit, until at least the next meeting, to reach out.
Well, the other thing, your financial consultant might say that this is why you should split it into two parts, or this is why you should do it in one part. Because
You might have a different idea already and say, have you thought about this?
Exactly, and he might say, you're gonna incur a lot more finance charges by financing warrants or trucks or whatever, I mean. So,
I think we need to hold up at least until the next meeting to make a decision on that. And you're frowning.
I'm not sure if that's not the worst possible answer at all of all from the two gentlemen in black shirts out there.
Yeah. I know they've done a lot of work on this already.
Yeah, but there's no, I mean, this is a big number, there's no reason to hurry
Yeah.
on that.
Okay.
I mean, if, we would like to get going, but, so my first question then would be, does the process, if we can get all the numbers worked out, would it be feasible to go ahead to the pool companies and say, draw us a plan? We're pretty sure this is all gonna work, draw us a plan. Would we be comfortable with that?
I think
Just
that,
to give us an estimate.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Start that
I think
process.
I think it'd be good to have some more firm numbers
Okay.
to look at.
Okay.
we've got numbers, it just, like I said, there's so many different things on options, and, you know, on the pool part, we're probably looking more for a guy with qualifications than we are a number, because it's not like you're just going out and digging a hole in the ground and pouring concrete. With this thing, you have to have somebody that has knowledge of our specific filtration system, because you could totally mess that pool up if you just get some Honyak out there with a backhoe. Because you're not, well, you could.
No, so,
And if you put a zero entry in, the filtration system for a zero entry is totally different. It has to be at a certain rate, and you're gonna have to have somebody, I'm not sure you wanna pick that just based strictly on price. I mean, you're gonna want somebody that knows what they're doing, because we don't wanna mess the pool up.
Because one of the big unknowns is the parking lot.
right.
How much gravel's it gonna take, how much, you know, what's it gonna take to make the parking lot work? That's a large unknown, and we've gotta have that too. So, is it consensus then that the project seems good? That we want to refinance the rec center, we wanna build onto the pool, create an ADA facility, dressing rooms, does that sound good? Okay. In that case, we will go forward with that. An RFQ, as far as going in and sending out for qualifications, would it be feasible to go ahead and start that process? Because just because you do that, you don't have to have any money behind it.
For the
You
design.
can still say no.
I don't
We
think
decided we
why-
don't wanna do
I don't
it.
see why not.
So is that
That's for
okay?
the design and picking a contractor.
Correct.
Okay.
That would be for us picking a general
Well,
contractor, and.
I would assume this, you're talking about a design build, aren't you? on
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
design build.
Design,
Yes.
okay.
So
you're
is
looking
that-
for- Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, that's good, because, I mean, the last thing we want to do is get the ball rolling, and then you all say, no, we don't think so. So,
I think it's, yeah, despite what some of the other people have said, my request for there to be a slight pause in how we exactly do the planning side of it. Coming and doing the talking about it and then wanting us to make a decision about that big of a number, when I don't believe that we have the qualifications necessarily to know the best. That's
Well,
my only.
That's fine.
I don't think we have any disagreement.
Oh, that's fine.
I appreciate,
Not a
I
problem.
appreciate.
That's,
yeah, not a problem.
Yeah.
So we'll go forward with trying to get some drawings done and maybe some RFQs and get that process, and you can let us know how the other, or whatever, part we need to play in the rest of that.
so that would be like at the next meeting.
June 29th. We don't usually have a fifth Monday, and we don't usually have but that's for a variety of different reasons, including vacation on my part and training for the mayor and
Okay.
et cetera. So June 29th is a full board meeting, so we could, take action at that.
Okay, and if we have any more information to provide in that timeframe, we'll do that.
And if I'm hearing from the committee, or the committee sometimes meets as a board, one of the things you'd like to see perhaps is shelter, no, I'm sorry, not the shelter house, the concessions and dressing rooms would be arranged from here to here, The spray ground would be between 75, so you kind of get an idea of what the maximum and what the budget range they're looking at.
Or the,
Because you won't
the
have the
dressing
prices
room-
by
The
yet.
dressing rooms are pretty specific based on your capacity. You
Right.
don't have much choice. I mean, this is what you have to have.
It's everything else is,
You know, it's pretty well put
we won't know
together.
that by the 29th at all.
And the people that we would, you know, the people that build these pools can tell, have architects that can tell you, here's the capacity of your pool, this is, they'll look at your you know, what your attendance is and whatnot, and they will tell you, this is what you need as far as size of dressing room. There's not much guessing to it. I mean, this is what they do is they build pools.
So by the 29th, I mean, you got some idea what you're looking at, right?
We have a very good idea what we're looking
Okay. So how much of a budgetary range could you have by the 29th before you know the RFQs, before you know the results of the RFQs? I mean, when you go out for a project, you usually have an engineer's estimate somewhere in your head, off something.
We could probably get,
Parking lot is still a
the
huge.
parking lot would be a big one, but we could, you know, I could probably take
I mean,
this to
unless you
somebody
guys-
that does.
Is it gonna be
parking.
concrete or asphalt?
Probably asphalt, I mean, because the current parking lot's asphalt, but that's also a fairly wet area, so it's gonna have a lot of base work.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of base work, but I could ask somebody like Christensen, okay, tell me, here's the size of the parking lot. I could show him this, and he could
Yeah.
probably take it down and say, well, you're looking somewhere between this and this.
I got a
So we'll get
estimate for our parking lot at the church over in Mexico,
Yeah.
and it's about the same size, and it was about $45,000 estimate, and that's taking it down and rebasing it, and drainage and all that stuff, so. But,
We'll get as many numbers as we can.
yeah.
Okay.
But getting estimates on some of that won't be very hard.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, we have an idea on parts of it, you know, and then it comes down to, okay, you know,
Just the people we
what's
talk to
the
who
zero
say,
entry gonna cost?
well, that's a
Yeah.
whole different deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That's a whole different.
Yeah.
deal.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
Gentlemen, I appreciate everything.
Yeah.
No problem.
So we got two more real quick part
Good.
things.
This is quickie, because I know pictures worth 1,000 words, because I got, we talked about sidewalks. And this is basically sidewalk replacement, so I probably got too many in there. But we talked about, I think you talked maybe at your last meeting about what we talked to Matt about sidewalk replacements. It'll be along Howard Burton. The park owns essentially 3 lots along Howard Burton. The first one starts at South Street, which is actually at the Northfield parking lot, and I've labeled that the north sidewalk. I drew it in white. That's the Northfield where the baseball kids play. That particular section is 135 feet long, and there is a fence there now. We would take the fence out. Basically, the fence makes it extremely difficult to maintain, and the fence is not in very good shape. The 2 other sections, we own a lot. There are 2 houses between that lot and our next lot, which is there on, there's really no street coming into it. The next street down, I think, is Head Street. But there are 2 houses, Clarence Hoskins' house, and then I don't know who lives in the other blue house that's there. That parking lot, or that sidewalk, is almost completely unusable. And there were 4 or 5 trees, and they show up in this picture, but there's only one of those trees left. There's some stumps still, but we would like to move that sidewalk back. How far? I don't know exactly. I know about where we need to come out. We need to come out down there on the parking lot, because if you go up closer to the street, there's a huge depression, and it's gonna get pretty costly to put a sidewalk there, and it's gonna be impossible to drain. But we'd like to move it in, and then behind the trees, and then angle it down to that parking lot, and there is a flat space there that won't be all that difficult to do. And tear out the old one, and it'll make it a lot easier to mow, because there's a ditch there. Up at the other end, there's a shallow ditch at the Northfield parking lot, but it's not that deep. Here, there's a pretty hard ditch to mow. And then the other one is the lot just to the south of that parking lot. And again, we would probably move it in because there's a ditch there. That sidewalk's pretty much impassable. I mean, it's not in very good shape at all. We would come back in and then probably angle back out. How all that fits in, and it's 110 feet, it's not as big a lot. So I think that altogether, 397 feet. And basically what we would be doing is going through the sidewalk program. We would get we do not have the stuff to tear it out. Now that's not to say that we absolutely couldn't acquire that stuff, but we don't have a dump truck. And I doubt we want to load those sidewalks in the dump trailer.
Well, what I was suggesting is that we treat the park department like we would treat one of our citizens, that we would tear it out and pay the cost of the concrete if they put it in, and we might even give them a hand. So it's about $2,200, I think Phil said.
Yeah, it's 397 feet, so I don't know exactly how many yards it is.
I think this is the first application for sidewalk improvement. We got $10,000 set aside. I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna mess with them on this one.
And then,
I'm not quite sure I understand.
The financing on this is.
well, I knew that there were questions about it at the last meeting. I think a lot of it centered on, okay, where is this going exactly? So I drew that in, and like I said, that South Street is what goes by the city barn. And that would be the first lot. Like I said, we have 3 lots, and none of the sidewalks are in very good shape. The sidewalks in front of the 2 houses are in much better shape than what our sidewalk is.
I'm not even sure the sidewalks that are there are on city property. Other than they might be on park property, but they're not on, in the city right away.
They're nearly out on the street.
Yeah, but the street, right away through there is very, very narrow.
So,
To the extent you can trust Tom Shaw where they are, but that's, I mean, not Tom personally, but just is the electronic map, so, which is not perfect.
But I think I've set some irons out there that are actually in some of those sort of sidewalks.
That's good.
That's where I have those at the right spot.
The last subject, the kayak rink.
We have an ordinance that prohibits boating in the ponds. There is a organization, the swim team, wants to raise some money with some with a kayak race as I guess it's kind of a. Why do you describe it?
well, he wants to have 3 different activities on July 4th. There's a fairly steep dam at the south pond. He wants to set up a giant slip and slide, which is basically him setting up poly tarps, blue tarps, and running water down it. He wants to have kayak races in the pond, and then he's going to have like a water polo tournament. And I think in the other pond, we've got the business out there, fishing, Show Me Fishing is going to sponsor a fishing tournament. We have to come to you guys because you would have to waive the city ordinance. I have checked with Jed. As long as it's a park-sponsored activity, the liability insurance covers it. So the kayak races, in terms of liability coverage, is really not an issue.
They know about the slip and slide?
Same thing. So park-sponsored activities.
We do all kinds of things.
All kinds of recreation.
So what we would have to draft, I would ask the staff to direct, I would ask the committee to direct staff to prepare an ordinance to allow kayak racing in the parks. And I could either do it generally speaking as if the park board approves it, or specifically for this one event.
Well, maybe we would want to have either concrete boat races or cardboard box races like they do in Columbia in the future. So maybe
We could pick who was in the boats.
So any discussion?
You're gonna-
Committee?
You're gonna change the no boating ordinance?
As long as it is a park board sponsored event, is what I'm suggesting. Not just remove not just throw caution to the.
You can waive it for the one day. And if he
Do we
wants
have to
do it,
change it, or could we just say,
we waive it for a day. Or
this day you can do it?
As long as it's
I think
park
that's,
board.
Yeah.
As long as it's park board sponsored event.
Well, we could, there's always, anytime you say the rules are the rules except for this day, make, well, it kinda, yeah, it's not as good as saying the park board can, approve or can recommend, if the park board recommends, the council can approve a boat race in the city parks. That gives us an authority to keep control over voting events in the park.
Well,
it isn't basically saying you can break this ordinance on this day. I'd prefer to amend the ordinance.
The biggest deal is making sure that we can get it done, get approval for it, because July 4th is not that far out, and
Right.
he wants to start advertising and that.
Sure.
Right.
It's not gonna be much fun if nobody gets in it.
So if you give your unanimous support to this, it would make life very difficult if you then didn't pass the ordinance.
You say you checked with Jed on the liability?
Yes.
No problem.
No problem, as long as it's park sponsored.
The chance of drowning, anytime you put people in water, there's a chance of drowning. But it's-
Oh, and we would put them in life jackets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
and we
And if they would just stand up, they'd be okay.
Yeah. Get stuck in the mud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stand up!
This is a family event. They'll be
Yeah.
in control of themselves.
We might have to change it so they can noodle for their golf disc, because they're in there in the south, or in the north pond about every other day, fishing around for their frisbees.
Yeah.
I have no issue with, park board sponsoring, having to change. If no one else has an issue, I would direct Meredith to.
Do you want to set a word limit?
You might just leave the other part out.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
Nothing for the record, I'll say that.
Okay, I'll leave that, yes. Let's just move on.
Do we, so you're directing as chairman, or do you want to make a motion and second? We doing an ordinance, or you just want to give them the opportunity?
So you want to do this in ordinance right now?
No, are you asking staff to draft an ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
So that ordinance will be
You want
passed.
you want that in the form of a motion?
That's kind of what I was hoping for.
Okay.
I make a motion that we direct staff to draft an amendment to the ordinance or however.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
I'm so happy.
So we could pass that June 29th.
Yes.
Only if we have
Quorum.
Will we have a quorum?
Awesome.
Well, is anyone here not going to be here on the 29th? Did they know?
29's too far away to tell.
Who knows?
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay,
I
thank you.
appreciate you much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Cemetery report. Memorial collections.
Had a lot of good comments about me having no flags again this year. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you, read
There's a report in your.
Is something with the latest, the font that was used on this one, the PDF is like full of,
Wow.
yeah,
See,
full of craziness.
Maybe your Christmas card.
Mine's just fine.
this is fine.
All right, GIS update.
We talked to Ethan Herbeck of Midland GIS. We should be able to have online will be a link from our site to a GIS map of the cemetery. Well, you will be able to go to, you can click on a site and see who is buried there and who is buried there, when they died, when they were born, that kind of information, whatever we have in our database, without any chance of making any amendments, etc. We are looking into the possibility of having a very small tasteful sign in the cemetery with a QR code, one of those little square doohickeys, where you could, if you had your mobile phone, you could scan it and then you could get the information while you're standing in the cemetery.
I was waiting for your next technical term.
You take your thingy, you're doing your smartphone, you would actually be able to use a QR code reader, and then be able to, on your smart device,
Locate
the
the
records. Yeah, look while you're standing.
I understood the doohickey better.
So that's
actually
pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. That's Phyllis is really the person who's kind of pushed for that, so she deserves the credit.
Tree board report. See it on the packet?
Still looking for another member to appoint to the tree board.
Been barking up the wrong tree so far.
Wow. All right, before you keep going on that,
I'm allowed one in my church, one for Sundays.
okay. Library board. We have notice of the meeting.
Still meet tomorrow at 6.
No, great, thank you. May 2015 financials.
So far, so good. The budget column will be there for June. You may notice it's not there. It will return. It will return.
Any questions, comments, anybody? Bills over $1,250. Questions or comments? Other government, cell phone reimbursement.
I don't want to get, we've had a longer discussion than I expected. Looking into the supervisors, Mike, Phil, and Mark have asked about getting a reimbursement on their cell phone. They are on call basically Monday through Friday. We pay the weekend person based on our memorandum, our contract with the laborers, 773. You get time and a half for an hour and a half for Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays when you're on call. But the guys don't get anything for being on call Monday through Friday, the department heads, unless they get called out. And if they're not available for some reason, then it kind of goes down from there. That's the way it is right now. So they've been asking about the possibility of getting a $20–25 monthly cell phone reimbursement. We could get a flip phone for about $10 a month. They so far have not wanted to. Nobody likes carrying two phones.
No.
So I don't know. I'd be interested in your feedback on this, but we don't have to go through it right now. I'm not.
My short answer is I would think the reimbursements.
Yeah, I think so too. I concur with that.
So you guys aren't opposed to that, sort of?
You guys have any?
That'd be a hard sell.
No.
I don't. It's pretty common. Pretty commonplace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if two phones, they're going to invariably not to carry the other one.
Right.
I think it's no brainer.
At what level of refund? Obviously, we're not going to pay the phone bill. I would say, looking at $20 or $25 a month, and they have to produce the front page of they have to prove they have a cell phone contract. They don't have, they can black out the number if they want to. But, or certainly they can black out the number of the other phones on that service, but we have to have some proof.
Yeah, they have to show that they have a phone.
Yeah,
Right.
and I believe it's taxable.
Taxable on there.
Yes, yeah. It's
Now, you're just talking about the department heads, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're
Just
talking
the three
about,
phones,
yeah. So,
just Phil and Mac and Mike and
it would not make, it's not budgeted, but it wouldn't make enough of a dent in the budget to make any difference. We're talking, not, yeah, $75 a month, it's, all right, well, I'll grab something. All right.
Other. As we arise.
I do have one.
Okay.
There's been some confusion with the library board appointments, and I think we've kind of ironed those out today. I need to reappoint Jenny Espenscheid to the library board for a term ending in 2018.
Oh, we did that last time? That's something else.
I think that was somebody else. I got a note from Phil today that says that one has not been done, so.
Oh. See a motion.
To reappoint Jenny Espenscheid to the to the library board.
For a term extending until June 2018?
Yes.
Have a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Wow.
I put down 7:50 as the time for we're going to adjourn, so we're way behind my guess.
Yeah.